after we got the jobs number, we saw gold giving back a good chunk of those gains and the dollar recovering some of those losses. But then the markets reversed and the dollar sold off and the dollar index closed negative on the day. And gold recovered almost all of its losses. It still managed to close down a couple of bucks just below 1800, but silver actually finished the day positive. Now, the reversal also happened in the stock market. Dow Jones futures sold off to about negative 500 as soon as the jobs numbers came out. But by the end of trading, the Dow closed positive and the NASDAQ paired its losses, turning what started out to be a large decline into a very small loss. And again, this is further confirming my suspicions that due to this new perception that the markets have of the weakness in the economy and the likelihood that the Fed won't be able to deliver as much in the way of tightening as Powell is now projecting, I think we're going to get a rally between now and the end of the year in the stock market, the so-called Santa Claus rally, but it is a sucker's rally that will not last and should be sold. In contrast, what's going on in the gold market and in the gold stocks, this is not a sucker's rally. This is a new bull market that nobody is talking about, and it's going to coincide with a new bear market in the US dollar, because with the fall on Friday, the dollar index not only closed the day below 105, it closed the week below 105. It closed Friday at 104.5, down another 20 basis points on the day, despite what was seen as stronger than expected jobs numbers. I think the next key level for the dollar index is 102. And if we close below that in the next week, I think there's a good chance that the dollar index could sink below 96 before the end of the year, which would mean the dollar would actually finish 2022 negative, even after being up close to 20% at its highs. By the way, as of right now, the dollar index has lost 9% from its high. And if you look at the Swiss franc in particular, the Swiss franc is now only down about 2% on the year versus the dollar. And I'm very confident that by the end of the year, even if the dollar index finishes up, the dollar will end the year down against the Swiss franc. So it's the Swiss franc, not the US dollar, that will prove to be the safe haven currency. But the ultimate safe haven from all currencies is gold. In fact, looking at the weekly gains, the price of gold rose about 2.5% on the week. Silver up about 8%. The GDX was up 5.2%, and the GDXJ was up 5.6%. But taking a broader look at what's going on here with the precious metals and the mining stocks, gold is now 11% above its lows, and it's now only down 2.2% on the year. Silver has had an even bigger comeback. It's now 32% above its low for the year. Silver is in a huge bull market, and nobody is talking about it. In fact, silver is now down just 1% on the year. And in fact, I am now confident that both gold and silver are going to finish 2022 with gains. In fact, many of the people in the crypto space were pointing to gold's failure to rally in 2022. In fact, gold's losses in the face of surging inflation as proof that gold was no longer relevant and that it had been replaced by Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down 63% so far in 2022, and the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is down 74%. So if gold's 2% fall means gold's irrelevant, what does Bitcoin's 63% fall mean? Clearly, gold is every bit as relevant as it's always been. It's just that not a lot of people appreciate that relevance, but they will. And in fact, gold could have such a strong finish to 2022 that it may end up beating the official rate of inflation. Whether it ends up beating the actual rate of inflation, I don't know that it can make that big a move in the remaining days of 2022, but I'm sure it will make up that lost ground in 2023 because I am expecting an explosive year for both gold and silver in 2023. In fact, look at what's already happening with the mining stocks. The GDX is now 39% above its 2022 low. That is a huge move. And it's now only down 6.6% on the year. Gold stocks are now stronger than any of the other major indexes. The GDX is no longer even in a bear market, only being down 6.6% on the year. In fact, it's clearly in a bull market, being up 39% from its lows. And in fact, the juniors have made an even bigger move. The GDXJ is now 44% above its 2022 low. Now, it's still down 11.2% on the year, but that would only put it in correction territory on the decline. But clearly, what's more significant is the 44% move from the low, which clearly puts the index in a bull market. But what's more significant about this bull market is that nobody is talking about it. It is happening in complete obscurity. It is off everybody's radar. Nobody is talking about what's probably going to end up being the biggest bull market in gold mining stocks ever. And the fact that nobody is talking about it is music to my ears because I want as few people talking about it as possible so that more of my clients can keep on buying without having to compete with everybody else, because that way they can get better prices. I completely nailed the low in the gold mining stocks. Just the very day that Barrick Gold came out with bad news and the stock hit a new 52-week low, I was on the podcast saying that was capitulation. That was the big money throwing in the towel, and that marked the absolute low in gold stocks. And you know what? It's been straight up from there, and I think the trajectory of this increase is actually going to accelerate. Now, compare what's happening to the gold stocks to tech stocks, because the NASDAQ is still down 26.5% on the year. At one point, the gold stocks were down more than the NASDAQ. Now the NASDAQ is down a lot more than the gold stocks. In fact, even if you look at the NASDAQ's rally off its low, it's only moved up by 15%. Not a new bull market, a correction in a bear market. And if you look at the more speculative tech stocks like the ARK Innovation ETF, that's still down 60% on the year, and it's only had a 17% rise from its low. So not in a new bull market, just in correction territory, but still in a massive bear market. But it's not just gold and silver mining stocks that I expect to be in a huge bull market. I also think you're going to see bull markets in international value and dividend paying stocks.